Again, hello everyone. My name is Arnita Johnson with Luxurious Credit TV, and today I have Karen Civil, entrepreneur, and I brought her here today because, as I stated, we have the Worth Investment Project going. So for every month that I'm giving away $1,000, I wanted to interview someone that I inspired and to see what their credit and finances are and how did they go about, in their learning experiences with credit. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can be here.
So the first question is, did your parents talk to you about credit?
Yeah. Well, I come from my parents are from Haiti.
Okay.
So with that, they are just some hardworking folks. And they taught us to save.
Right.
My dad would give us, when we had good grades or certain things, he'd give us $10. And in giving us that, we had this big, I don't even know where they got the jar from. It was this big jar thing. And me and my brother both had one. And he was like, okay, if I give you 10, you save 5, you spend 5. So at a young age, I remember when I was 14 and I wanted to redecorate my room, and my furniture probably cost $650. I had the money for it. It's like from the money that I saved. It was just something that they taught us from very young. Like if you want something, you're gonna have to save and earn and work for it.
Okay. So you was pretty experienced.
Yeah.
There. Okay. Yeah. And then the next thing was, how old were you when you first received your credit card?
I got my first credit card. I was in 11th grade. My parents actually got a Discover card for me and my brother. My brother was a senior, I was a junior. And I think that was the worst mistake they could have made, because in my mind, I didn't understand fully how credit worked, because I saved and scrimped, and then in my mind, I was like, okay, I can just pay this back, and all I have to do is pay the minimum, which was like $23. So everything that I wanted, you're saving for and you're working for. I had a job at the time. Everything I'm working for, I was like, oh, I can just get it now and just pay it slowly and still have money.
Yes.
I think in like 2 weeks I spent like $3,000. I went to the mall and I went crazy, and I just bought so much stuff. And I hid it from my parents. They were like, where's all this stuff? And I was like, I work. To them they didn't think nothing much of it. I bring it in a piece at a time, but that was the worst mistake I ever made, because I didn't realize when the bill comes, because it had my name on it, it was like a joint account, so it was on everyone's bill.
Oh my goodness.
So my parents opened it like, Karen, why would you buy this? And I'm like, but you're not supposed to see that. And I didn't realize it was a joint. We're all on the same credit card, and actually maxed the card out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So pretty much they had you on the credit card as an authorized user.
Yeah.
And they probably also did that to help you establish your own credit once the time came.
Yeah, I was very responsible up to that point. That was the only thing that was super disappointing to them.
Gotcha.
But they didn't fully break down how the card worked, interest rates, late payments, what happens. I thought it was mine, and I just paid $20 a month. And just keep going, and it didn't turn out like that. It was unfortunate, but yeah, my parents, my dad made me clear out my savings account and pay it all at once, and then he closed the account. He was like, no more cards for you, because you don't know how to handle yourself.
So what age were you when you said, you know what, I can maintain my own credit card and I'm going to go ahead and apply for it?
I waited till later on, like till I was about 23, 24, only because I knew the urgency in which things weren't important, but I treated them as if they were important.
Absolutely.
So I knew I didn't have a limit.
Gotcha.
And I just wanted to put that restraint on myself, and it worked. By the time I was 23, 24, I had my own apartment. You're establishing yourself, and I was like, finally, I want to establish my credit and really get a credit card and step out on my own, and use it when it's necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. So at that age is when you knew the importance of it. So there weren't many mishaps.
Yeah, I was more responsible, more mature.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, concert, buying this. Oh, I get my nails, putting everything on your card. So and by that time, I knew, this was like break the glass if it's something important, and had a better understanding of, when you use it, you could get miles, and traveling, and all the benefits,
stuff.
The benefits that come with
it.
So that's when I I fully started using my credit.
That's really good. And I think also the fact that you knew a lot about credit, you know, from your parents early on, that you knew the consequence of what happened if you didn't take care of it. So,
and you mess your, you know, and it's unfortunate that you mess your credit up and you do certain things, because I remember I didn't pay T-Mobile phone bill, and I was like, oh, I don't care, I'm just gonna go to AT&T. And it came back to bite. It came back to bite me in the butt a couple of years later, because when I wanted a T-Mobile account, they said, "Oh yeah, you just need to pay this balance of $900 and something." So it's really understanding that responsibility.
Yes.
And so I just waited till I was a little bit older, and I knew I was more mature,
Right.
and I had other things to worry about than like material things.
Yes. And 23 is a really good age, you know, to start learning about credit, because 10 years from now, 33, you're still young, but you have such a strong, strengthened, you know, credit profile that you could pretty much get whatever you want, you know, when you want it. So definitely trying to get that out to people, especially the youth, how important it is to take care of your credit now, because it would definitely take care of you later. And then the next question that I have for you is, being that you're in the music industry, mainly hip hop, how do you think rappers and other artists can make talking about finances cool?
You know, that's a very interesting question, because you know, this is, you know, it's an industry where people they waste money though. You see the big jewelry, the cars, the things that depreciate in value in like a year. So a lot of the artists and stuff that I work with, you know, I make sure I tell them, you know, about CD accounts and, you know, getting into a business, owning something, making sure your credit is up to stature, putting things in your name and building your portfolio. So, you know, to me it's very important, because now you're not just an entertainer, you know, you're a brand and you're a business. Right. So, you know, all of that, your credit is very important. You can't pay for cash and everything. You can't, you know, this was a time when Birdman he was like, I got everything in my mama name. Right.
Yeah, man. I always say that.
And so I'm like, you can't do that anymore. You know? And it's just like, you want to have the responsibility of having things in your name and your business and things like that. You want to this is the first step in establishing your brand and yourself as a businessman or a business woman. So it's definitely something that's important. And a lot of the artists that I work with, they understand that, and they are making those strides to make sure that their credit and certain things are in check.
That's great. So did you hear that? Your favorite artists, they do take care of their credit as well. And I think that is something that, especially the youth, again, they do not think that, hey, these artists and these entertainers, this is work for them. At the end of the day, they're working to pay their bills. It's entertainment. So at the same time, it's a job. But at the end, they want to invest in themselves, you know, so that it'll pay off later on in life.
Yeah, they definitely invest in themselves, and I definitely like to tell people, don't get caught up when you see the big chain and the car and the certain things. A lot of that thing is done through a lease. They keep it for a little bit of time. A lot of people are investing, you know, the jewelry is something that someone comes, brings on set, they make it for a little bit, you know, and they can turn it in and get something else. I'm like, you know, I see people literally ruining credit to keep up with the Joneses, and it's not necessary. A lot of these artists now, they have businesses and they're doing certain things, which I know, unfortunately, we don't, you know, it doesn't get the same media attention. But that's also very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really glad you shared that. That's going to be very, very helpful. They really need to hear that.
Thank you.
And then the last question is, also, you are a philanthropist, meaning you give away to the community and to everyone. What are some things that Karen does to give back to herself?
You know, I definitely like, I'm definitely someone who really loves to travel, and I'm a big fan of travel noir, and I just like to see the world. So, you know, I definitely, when I'm able to use my card and I get the Sky Mile points and certain things, I do take myself on nice vacations. But people even think like, oh, that's expensive. I'm like, nope, my points, my points pay for these flights. And you know, I just make sure I establish everything correctly. A trip may cost me. I remember when I went to Anguilla, and that trip cost me $600. And people are like, how? I'm like, yeah, I use my card for the points. And you know, once you rack up a certain amount, you get free hotel. So it's just like, yeah, you know, it worked. It worked itself out. But just my big thing is traveling. I'm really excited. I'm going back to Haiti in a few weeks
Okay.
for Flag Day. So,
Okay.
for Haitian Flag Day. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's really, really good. I
Yeah.
want to thank you again so much for coming. I know you have such a busy schedule, so it really means a lot that you took just a little time out of your day to come here and, be for this mission and for this project, because again, one thing that I wanted, to share with people is the importance of having good credit. But hey, to also hear that people like you have credit mishaps and things happen to you as well. And I think if it's something that we get enough people to talk about that we admire and inspire, that it won't be so embarrassing. And that's what I get a lot is the embarrassment of it all. And I'm like,
people should never be embarrassed. It's something that we all go through. We make mishaps. It's life. We're gonna have our ups and downs. I've definitely had my issues with dealing with credit, and I've learned from it. And people have to understand when it comes to getting a car, everything now runs your credit. From how when you get a phone, to if you get lights, if you get cable, to rent a car, to everything now. And I tell people it's very good to establish your credit, because now when you go in and you want to rent a place, if your credit isn't where it needs to be, they may ask you for triple the rent as opposed to nothing down, or maybe like a minimum payment or something like $300. When I first got my first place, I remember, because I didn't have really any credit, they asked me for double the rent, and at the time it was like $1,400, and I was like, I don't understand why. And I was just so mad at it. But now, now the place that I have, I don't have to worry about that. It was no money down, and I'm like, this is something that took a couple of years to grow and to fix. But people really have to understand the importance, especially when you're saving, and these companies, they really look at those numbers. Those numbers are super important.
They do. And on top of that, having bad credit, you are a risk, and the worse your credit, lenders are afraid if they're going to get their money back or not. So it's no different than I explain to people than us lending money to each other. You have Uncle Ray that goes around and borrow money and don't pay it back.
You're not going to lend to them.
Absolutely,
So
it's the same thing.
It's basically the same thing. Before, I had to think, I don't know if I'll get a card from this place, I'll get a card from that place. Now I go to these places and they're like, you can sign up for a card, they'll give you a card, I get them all in the mail, and now I like that I get to be picky and choose.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't need a card for everything, I'm okay, but if I choose to, I can.
Absolutely.
And that's a wonderful feeling.
Yes, and it is, and that's the benefit of having good credit. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, because me, I had the experience of having bad credit. There was definitely a way I was treated when my credit was bad, and when it was good, and when it was bad, it was like, okay, we can only give you this. But now that it's good, it's like, oh, well, what is it that you want? We're here to cater to you, because they know that I'm going to pay my bills.
It's just like a whole nother playing field. When you're in a whole nother bracket, and then just it's just, honestly, it's just, people don't fully understand the importance. But as you grow and as you learn and you become independent and you want to move out on your own and you want to venture off, you'll see. And it's something, I wish I would have had that conversation early on with my parents before they gave me that card. But it is something that is very important, because I made the mistake of, I got a storage locker for a friend who didn't pay for it, that T-Mobile bill, a cable situation, and all of those came to bite me back in the butt when I wanted to turn on and get a T-Mobile account. When I even wanted to get cable, they were like, yeah, you have this past due of so-and-so. The storage locker thing, I had to pay it off because my friend didn't pay it. So you have to be careful who you put things in people, be careful who you let put things in your name, and definitely growing that credit. It's very important.
Absolutely. So again, I want to thank you so much for coming, and that is it. So next month we will have someone else sitting in this lovely chair that I admire as well. But for now, I want to thank you, Karen, so much for taking out the time again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.